The late summer dusk settled over Red Creek Ranch like a blanket of smoldering gold, stretching across the tall grass and washing the weather-beaten barns in a fading glow that only the loneliest places on earth ever truly carried. Luke Carver rode slow, letting his horse trot lazily along the fence line, trying to quiet the unease that had been eating at him for days. The ranch had grown to silent ever since his father passed, and every creak of the wooden windmill now felt like a voice calling out from some memory he wasn't ready to face. As he rode, he thought about his mother's strange request that morning. "Check the old guest cabin tonight, Luke. I heard something there, something that didn't sound like an animal." At first, he had brushed it off, chalking it up to grief for the wind messing with her nerves, but the tone in her voice stuck with him. So now, with the horizon swallowing the last thread of sunlight, he nudged his horse toward the forgotten cabin at the far edge of the property, the one nobody had stayed in for nearly a decade. He slowed when he saw a faint amber glow flickering through the dusty windows. Someone was inside. Luke slid off his horse in silence, boots landing softly on dry earth. As he approached, he heard it, a soft, almost trembling whisper that made the hair on the back of his neck rise. "Hello," he called gently, hand hovering near the revolver at his hip. The whisper came again, clearer now, unmistakably feminine. "Please, take them off." Luke froze. The door creaked open before he even touched it, and inside he found her disheveled, barefoot, wrapped in a heavy wool blanket that draped over her like a tattered cocoon. Her eyes were wide, glassy, filled with a fear so raw it cut straight through the dim room. She lifted her wrists, shackles, old, rusted, digging into her skin like they were part of her. "Please," she said again, voice cracking around the words. "Take them off." Luke's throat tightened as he hurried to her, his hands steady but his heart pounding. "Who did this to you?" he asked, though he wasn't sure she could even answer. Her lips trembled before forming a single word. "Run." The sound of footsteps outside shattered the silence, heavy, deliberate, coming straight for the cabin. Luke grabbed the girl, pulling her behind him as the doorknob turned. The old hinges groaned open, letting in the silhouette of a man Luke had hoped he'd never see again. A man his father once warned him about. The stranger stepped inside with a smile cold enough to freeze the air in the room. "Evening, Luke," the man said, voice dripping with venom. "You found something of mine." Luke positioned himself in front of the trembling girl, jaw clenched, pulse roaring like thunder in his ears. "She's not yours," he growled. The stranger's smile widened. "Oh, but you don't even know what she is, do you?" And before Luke could speak, the girl grabbed his arm with surprising force, whispering urgently, "Don't let him touch Emmy. If he does, you won't survive." Luke had no idea what she meant, but when he looked into her eyes, he saw something hidden there, something ancient, desperate, powerful, something that made his knees buckle before he even understood why. He drew his revolver and aimed, but the stranger only laughed, stepping forward, eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. "She should have never come back here," he said darkly. "And you, Luke Carver, you've just stepped into a war you can't even see." The girl's grip tightened until Luke felt his fingers go numb. "Take them off," she whispered again, barely audible. "Now." He hesitated, then fired. The gunshot tore through the cabin like lightning, shattering the tension and sending the stranger stumbling backward into the dirt outside. Luke grabbed the girl and swept her behind the table, breath heavy, adrenaline burning through him. But instead of fear, she looked up at him with something like resignation. "You shouldn't have done that," she whispered. Her words chilled him more than the night air. Outside, where the bullet should have brought the man down, there was only silence followed by the sickening scrape of boots against gravel. Luke peeked past the doorframe. The stranger was standing. No wound, no blood, nothing. He lifted his head slowly, and even in the shadows Luke could see the twisted grin spreading across his face. "I warned you," the man hissed. The ground beneath him rippled, actually moved like the earth itself was bending to his will. The girl behind Luke shuddered. "Listen to me," she whispered urgently. Under the shackles, Luke turned to her, confused and frantic. "Why? What are they?" Her chest rose and fell, breath sharp and unsteady. "Bindings, seals, my power, what he wants, it's trapped inside them. He can't touch me while they're on, but I can't fight him unless they're gone." Luke swallowed hard. If I take them off, what happens to you? She held his stare. It won't be me you have to worry about. The walls of the cabin shook violently, dust raining down from ceiling beams as the stranger slammed a hand against the exterior wood, sending splinters flying. Luke made his decision. He grabbed a bolt cutter hanging by the old workbench. Together they knelt on the floor, her breathing shallow, his hands trembling as he positioned the cold metal around the rusted chain. Are you sure? He asked. She nodded slowly, fear and determination braided together in her expression. Do it. The first snap of metal breaking sounded like thunder. The girl collapsed forward with a cry that wasn't merely pain. It was something deeper, ancient, like the echo of a storm breaking free after centuries. The ground shook again, harder this time, and Luke heard the stranger roar outside. Nitrogen monoxide. As Luke broke the second shackle, a pulse of energy slammed through the room, knocking over chairs, rattling glass, and forcing him to the ground. The girl rose slowly, the blanket falling away from her shoulders as a faint light spread beneath her skin, etching across her veins in glowing threads. What are you? Luke breathed. She looked down at her hands as though seeing them for the first time. I was hidden, she murmured. Now I'm not. The door shattered inward. The stranger stormed inside, eyes burning, his voice no longer human as he snarled, She belongs to me. The girl stepped between him and Luke, her voice calm, almost sorrowful. You lost your claim the moment you touched me all those years ago. Luke watched as the stranger hesitated, actually stepped back, and for the first time, fear flickered in his expression. You can't control it, he warned. You'll destroy everything. Her glow intensified. Better that than letting you control me. The cabin shook violently as the two forces, one ancient, one broken, clashed without even touching. Luke shielded his face as light filled the room, so bright it erased the walls, the floor, the world around them, until all he could hear was the girl's whisper, "Thank you, Luke." Then silence. When Luke opened his eyes, the girl was standing over the stranger, who lay unconscious, defeated, the ground around him charred black. She looked exhausted, trembling, but free, truly free. She reached for Luke's hand. He took it. For a moment, everything was still. "There's more coming," she said softly. He was only the first. Luke nodded, his fear settling into something steadier, something like purpose. "Then you're staying with me," he said, "at least until we figure out what you are, and what they want." She smiled faintly, leaning on him as they stepped out of the ruined cabin into the cold ranch night. Above them, the stars shimmered, unnaturally bright, as though the sky itself had witnessed what happened and was waiting for what came next. And somewhere in the darkness, beyond the hills, a low, distant howl answered the night. Whatever Luke had freed, it had not gone unnoticed.